In the heart of West Africa, where ancient traditions and modern life intertwine, there is an old belief whispered from generation to generation. It is said that if you ever find yourself in a bustling market, surrounded by traders, buyers, and the aroma of spices, you must never, under any circumstance, bend down and look between your legs. For those who dare, what they see may never let them return the same. Many years ago, in the village of Uduka, a young boy named Kofi lived with his grandmother. She was the village storyteller, known for her deep knowledge of traditions. One evening, as they sat by the fire, she told him of a powerful warning. Never bend down and look through your legs in the marketplace, for the eyes of the unseen are always watching. Kofi, being an adventurous and skeptical boy, chuckled. "Grandmother, what could possibly happen?" he asked. His grandmother's face darkened. "Those who do see things not meant for human eyes. Some lose their minds. Others disappear without a trace." But Kofi did not believe in such tales. One fateful day, the biggest market in Uduka was held. Traders came from far and wide, selling fabrics, fresh fruits, and charms. The air buzzed with excitement, but Kofi had only one thing on his mind: proving his grandmother wrong. When no one was watching, he walked to the center of the market, took a deep breath, and bent down, looking between his legs. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The market was still loud, and people continued trading. But then the air shifted. The voices sounded distant, warped, and unnatural. The ground beneath him seemed to ripple like water. And then he saw them, the spirits of the market. Through his legs, Kofi saw a second market, a darker version of the one he stood in. The people looked the same, but moved strangely, their faces distorted, their eyes hollow and glowing. And then one of them turned and looked straight at him. The spirit smiled. A hand shot out from the other world, gripping Kofi's wrist. He gasped, trying to pull away, but it was strong. The world around him twisted, colors fading, sounds turning into whispers of forgotten voices. His heart pounded. He closed his eyes, screaming, and then he felt a slap on his back. Kofi snapped upright, gasping for air. The market was back to normal, but people were staring at him in fear. His grandmother stood before him. "Foolish boy," she scolded. "You have glimpsed the other world. You are lucky to return." From that day on, Kofi never spoke of what he saw, but he knew the truth. Some doors are not meant to be opened. And that is why, to this day, in the villages of Africa, people warn, never bend down and look between your legs in the market, for you may see something, and something may see you. Kofi may have returned to the world of the living, but he was not the same. That night, as he lay on his mat, staring at the wooden ceiling of his grandmother's hut, the whispers began. At first, they were faint, like the distant murmurs of the market, but as the night deepened, they grew louder, clearer, unfamiliar voices speaking in a language he did not understand. His skin prickled. He turned to his grandmother's sleeping form, wanting to wake her, but something held him back. A strange feeling crawled over his body, like unseen eyes watching from the shadows. Then he heard it. A breath right next to his ear. Kofi bolted upright, his heart pounding. The hut was dark, silent. The only sound was the rustling of the palm trees outside. He told himself it was just his imagination, but deep down, he knew something had followed him back. Days passed, and the villagers began to notice something strange about Kofi. He no longer played with his friends. He barely ate. His once bright and curious eyes seemed distant, as if he were always looking at something others could not see. Worst of all, he would wake up in the middle of the night, screaming. His grandmother knew. She had seen this before. She called for the village elder, a man named Baba Okon, who had knowledge of the spirit world. When Baba Okon arrived, he looked at Kofi carefully, circling him, muttering words under his breath. Then he sighed deeply. "The spirits have touched him," he said. "If we do nothing, he will be lost to them forever." The elder explained that when Kofi looked between his legs in the market, he did more than just see the spirits. He had unknowingly crossed the boundary. They saw him, and now they want him. The only way to save him was to perform an ancient ritual, one that would sever his connection to the spirit world before it was too late. That night, under the full moon, the villagers gathered outside. A fire was lit, its flames dancing wildly. Baba Okon stood before Kofi, holding a bundle of sacred herbs. "Kofi, whatever happens, do not speak. Do not answer them. If you do, they will take you." Kofi nodded, fear gripping his heart. The ritual began. Baba Okon chanted in an ancient tongue, waving the smoking herbs around Kofi. The air grew heavy. The whispers returned, louder than ever, rising and falling like waves crashing against the shore. Then a voice called his name, Kofi. It was soft, familiar. It sounded like his mother, the mother he had lost as a baby. His throat tightened. He had never heard her voice before, yet somehow he knew it was her. Kofi, my son, come to me. Tears welled in his eyes. His feet felt as if they were being pulled forward. Do not answer, Baba Okon commanded, but the voice was so gentle, so warm. Kofi, I miss you. Come with me. His lips parted, but just before he could speak, Baba Okon threw something into the fire. A loud crack filled the air, and suddenly Kofi felt as if something had torn away from his body. He collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The whispers stopped. The presence was gone. When Kofi woke up the next morning, the heaviness was gone. The nightmares never returned. But he was never the same. He never went back to the market. He never spoke of what happened. And every time he saw someone bend down, about to look between their legs, he would grab them by the arm and shake his head. Do not look, he would whisper, because Kofi knew the truth. Some things are meant to remain unseen, and some things, once they see you, never let go. Even though the spirits no longer haunted his dreams, Kofi knew that if he ever stepped foot in the market again, he would be gone forever. And so for the rest of his life, he stayed far away. But the market remained, the spirits remained. For the next curious soul,